Hi, I'm Coach Williams, and you are watching MaxxSouth Sports.
Kevin Williams, I'm the head baseball coach at Booneville High School. I just finished my 6th season. I think I knew in high school as a player I wanted to be a coach. Had some really good high school coaches. Not necessarily, it wasn't necessarily what they knew about the sport as much as what they taught us as players and what they meant to me as a kid. It didn't take long. I knew that professional sports were not going to be necessarily in my future, and so I always loved being around a ball field as I grew up, and as I got into high school and got to be around a lot of those coaches, I guess in some way I wanted to kind of be that person for high school kids one day. And so at a very early age, and then also of course helped me map out my career in college. I played baseball all through college, but obviously helped me establish a major and get my coursework in line. So that was always kind of the plan from an early age. And then as a kid, I was always one of those that admired coaches on TV from afar. I didn't get to play for a lot of the legendary guys that I watched on TV, but I think I read and studied a lot about them. The way they did things, just a lot of times the way their teams played, even down to the way their teams looked. So I had a lot of influences in that way. But definitely, more so than anything, my high school coaches and the guys that spent a lot of time investing in me when I was a kid. There's different guys, old coaches that played a part in my past, especially as a high school athlete. One I can think of off the top of my head was our defensive line coach on the football team. He was also our strength coach. He was very intense. He was very loud, and he would never let you walk away from a drill or walk away from something that you were walking away because it was too hard, or you thought it was too difficult, or you just you didn't think you had kind of what it was, or what was needed to be able to get it done physically. And so he taught me a lot of lessons early on that I was able to get more out of myself as an athlete, which obviously was a great lesson as I got older, even off the field, being able to deal with some adversity and tough situations, just figuring out there was a lot more in me that I wasn't necessarily tapping into, and I think that was a really special gift that he had. And I don't know that it was a gift as much as just he never would let us quit things, and that was great, and I've always appreciated that. And then my high school baseball coaches, just different guys. Guys that taught you little things about the game, don't step on the foul line, how to wear your uniform, just little stuff that makes the game enjoyable. And those old baseball guys, as a lot of times we like to refer to them, they taught me a lot about the game and the history of the game and how to respect the game and play the game the right way. And as I got older and see a lot of that stuff in youth baseball and sports now, things that I came to appreciate that hopefully I can pass along that were given to me one day.
Hi, I'm Coach Williams, and you are watching MaxxSouth Sports.
Our team's attributes, on the field wise, we were pretty strong on the pitching mound. We were not a dominant team offensively or anything this year, but pretty athletic and guys that have really good at bats and kind of put pressure on the defense. And by the end of the year, we were pretty strong defensively. Those were some things that really helped us out in the long run. But aside from that, we were pretty experienced, a little older team, a lot of seniors, and very resilient, which was really necessary down the stretch there. Had some really tight playoff games, and of course, when we got in the championship series, we lost the first game and had to bounce back and win 2 in a row. So I think that was probably, by the end of it, you kind of look back and realize, when you look at all the tough, tight games that you've been in and a lot of the scares that you felt like you had, you realize that, man, you had you had kind of a tough, resilient group of kids, and they went through some very nerve-wracking times. They may not have been nervous, but there was definitely some tense moments for me in the dugout. So they were able to come through a lot of situations like that. So I think that was probably just as big or as important of an attribute as anything we could have prepared for on the field. I think we talked throughout the entire year. Every game we play, we're going to go out in the outfield and talk a little bit about what the game was like, and the situations and how we handled them, because that's basically what it comes down to. You work all year on skills and catching and throwing and hitting and things like that, but at the end of the day, baseball is very situational, and there's a lot of things that are going to come up, and because they're young kids, they don't know how to handle everything. They've only been on the field so often. So being able to get out there and talk a little bit about some of that stuff and kind of use teachable moments, I guess, would be a good word for it. That hopefully by the end of the year, when you're in the game you really want to be in, they've been there before, they know what it takes. We talk a lot throughout the year about just kind of the mental preparation that goes into playing in these big games against really good teams. And hopefully by the end of the year you've done a good enough job that when they get in those moments, they're a little more mentally prepared, and it doesn't really get too big for them. They just they kind of get out there and they play effortlessly. They just kind of flow through the situation because they feel like, oh, I've kind of been here before and I'm pretty comfortable with it. Starting out this season, the challenges were pretty obvious. A lot of the focus, even amongst our team and our parents and community and school, everybody's focus was a little more on just having the season, being able to play 28 games. And so that's a little bit of a challenge mentally. Everybody's still a little uncertain. Are we going to get shut down for 2 weeks? Is anybody going to get sick? So that was a little bit of a challenge at first, and obviously we've had a little bit of a turn socially with how we've handled all the pandemic situation, and so eventually that kind of turned, and it kind of felt like business as usual. And our kids, just the usual challenges. Spring sports in high school bring a lot of things. You got proms, you've got state testing, you've still got school to take care of. Our teams have always been very hardworking in the classroom, and so they're very focused on their studies and they want to do well. So there's all the usual challenges that we deal with every day, and I hate to even call it a challenge, because really I think it's just kind of life and business as usual for a Booneville High School student athlete. They know the expectations and what our district stands for here, and they don't really look at it as a challenge. It's just another thing to them. Of course, coach's perspective, I'm looking at all the scheduling issues, and kids are in testing for 4 or 5 hours that day, and those kinds of things. But I don't know that we had a lot of challenges this year, and if we did, I probably didn't notice it as much, because we did have a really good group of kids that kind of could take whatever you threw at them and just kind of handled it like adults. It was really, really fun to watch and good to see, and probably a good thing for me too, because it kept me sane a lot of times, that I was able to trust those guys as much as I could. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Coach Williams, and you are watching MaxxSouth Sports.
The last 2 seasons we've had, obviously, a lot of success and won a lot of games and very exciting. And the 2 seasons prior to this one, we finished in the North Half Championship Series, 1 step away from being able to go and play for a state championship. And we had a really good senior group those 2 years, and they just weren't able to really break through and get to that final series in Pearl, which is the ultimate goal. And so we graduated a good group of seniors and kind of move into almost a brand new group of kids. And so it was I don't want to say it wasn't in the plans. I think we all thought it was possible with the group that we had. A lot of talent. Obviously missing a season in between was definitely something that we didn't foresee, and something that we kind of needed with this group. But I think the fact that those kids were on those previous 2 teams, and they were freshmen and sophomores, and they got to be parts of 2 really good teams and kind of see what it takes to get there, I think that was really big. for them because they knew what to expect, and definitely showed up in some tight games in the third and fourth round of the playoffs there. It was almost kind of like a, we've been here before mentality, and I think that had a lot to do with our success this year. And then obviously we finally broke through after 3 tries and got to go play in Pearl, which was an awesome experience for our school and our team and our community, and then ultimately winning it, which was the ultimate goal. You get down there and there's a lot of things to deal with. You're traveling and staying in hotels, and if you play 3 games like we did, you're there for 6 days, and you're trying to find ways to keep them busy and keep them sharp, and there's just a lot of stuff to deal with from a logistics standpoint, where you're really worried, are we staying kind of focused mentally? And obviously, though, having such an older, experienced group, it wasn't an issue at all, and we had some great help down there with some team moms and administration and people that allowed us to do some things and really set us up to be successful down there. And of course, by the time we got to Saturday, ultimately, getting the last out and winning that game and getting the dog pile there in the Braves Stadium and getting the trophy was an awesome experience. One that's a little sad, for me as a coach, as I look back at the groups that got so close and didn't get to go. And a lot of those guys were down there watching us play, and they're giving me hugs after the game, and just, it's not sadness for them, though. I think the best part was knowing that they were so happy and excited that the team did it and that the school was able to do it, and that's really the greatest thing about it. And it's an awesome group of kids, and they were just excited that we were successful. And I think ultimately they probably felt like they were a little bit of a part of it too, which is great, because those guys definitely deserve to be down there. They just, the ball doesn't bounce your way sometimes, and fortunately for this group of guys, it did. Motivation for this season was really easy, especially for our older guys. I think for all these athletes, they want to win a state championship. That's kind of the ultimate goal, and I think this group of seniors always felt like they could. They'd been there kind of on the cusp, and they'd had it right there in the palm of their hand and never been able to quite grasp it. And then, of course, after missing a year because of COVID, I think there was really a little bit of a sense of urgency, and this is the last go around, this is the last try, and last year was taken away from them. So I think it was pretty easy getting the upperclassmen for sure motivated to try to make that run. And before we shut down the season last year, we had some guys that had come to us kind of later trying out for the team. A couple of them that hadn't played probably since their junior high years, and so it was nice because at the end they ended up being extremely impactful for our team. Both of them played in the outfield for us. One of them ended up even being the series MVP down in Jackson, the championship series. So. We were a little nervous about those guys not getting to have a junior season. They kind of needed some games and some time to develop. But at the end of the day, they were vital to what we did on the field and what we were able to do. And, as you look back, you realize that really had a lot more to do with who they are. Even though they missed those games last year, there's just it's a mentality, and it's a mindset, and it's definitely a character thing. They're really resilient kids. They're good athletes. They play other sports on campus, and at the end of the day, it's nice that you can kind of trust them to go out there and, like I said, one of them even be the series MVP and have such a great week down there to help us win. It's really exciting as a coach to be able to see young kids, 17, 18-year-olds, to be able to do that and face those challenges and kind of come out on top. It's really fun and exciting for us to watch. And so I would say motivation was definitely pretty easy for the year, but there was a little bit of driving force amongst the team and the group that they knew this was the last time they were going to get to try this. And down the stretch you could feel it. There was definitely kind of a look in their eye and a sense of, we've got to finish this, we got to make sure we get it done. And even after the first game down there, we lost. You could kind of look at them and realize there was never any panic or anything in them. They still kind of felt strong about, we're going to be able to do this even though they were down 1 game. In our final 3 games down there in the championship series, we knew right off the bat we were going to see a really good pitcher in the first game. And we didn't expect them to come out and score 5 runs in the first inning, and that was tough. The first pitch we threw as in the first game went off the left center field wall for a triple. So, it was kind of a, they came out and kind of punched you in the mouth moment, and it was a little scary. Big stadium, loud crowd, and a lot of wide eyes at first. So I think there was a little bit of shock factor at first for our guys. And so after that, I think the nerves kind of calmed, and we played really well through the end of the first game, and ended up, just falling a little short, couldn't quite score enough runs to catch up. But to that point, we'd played really good baseball, and we lost in the first inning 5-0, but then for the rest of the game, we outscored them 3-1. And so you felt like you played a really good game. You felt like you pitched a really good game. Our starter went out and struck out 11 and had a good day. But at the end of the day, you look up and the scoreboard didn't read what you wanted it to. So I think we all kind of felt like, man, we probably outplayed them for most of the game, but that's baseball. They scored more runs than we did. So definitely going into Thursday, you felt like, we had a really good chance to win. We come out, we hit a 2-run home run in the first inning, and there's a lot of excitement, and we go out and we pitch really well. And definitely at the end of the game, last inning, they scored 2 runs to tie the game 2-2, and we were kind of sitting there thinking, there's no way we've played this well to this point, and they're gonna sneak out a win. Surely they're not gonna do that. And we had a couple runners on in the top of the 7th inning, and very uncharacteristic of the team that we were playing. We hit a ground ball to shortstop, and he threw the ball away out of nowhere, and we were able to score 2 runs and go up 4-2. And it's one of those moments. We didn't necessarily hit the double in the gap to score the runs, but at that point, you'll kind of take whatever you can get. And I remember looking at Coach Hicks, our pitching coach there, and I said, you know what, I'll take it. We needed a break. We've played really well for 13 innings down here. We needed a break, and we got one. And we, I felt like we'd played well enough. People say all the time, the game will reward you at the right time if you play and do things the right way. And sometimes the ball bounces your way, and sometimes it doesn't. And in that moment, we were definitely thrilled that it did. So. We were fine to take that, and ended up getting the win 4-2, and then of course getting ourselves into that Game 3 situation. And then after that, things kind of started rolling our way, and we had a lot of momentum going into Saturday. Came out and scored 4 runs in the first inning and 2 in the second, and got a big 6-0 lead early in the game. And so I would definitely say that one ground ball probably shifted all the momentum in the series, and definitely kind of moved the needle our way. So you look back now and you don't really see stuff like that happening, and you don't think it's that big a deal. But looking at it now, you can definitely say that might have been the turning point in the whole series for us. We had some guys, some players that really came through big for us this year. I'll start with one of our seniors. Jackson McCoy. He was voted by 3A coaches in the state. He was a co-player of the year in the state. McGee had another young man that was an outstanding baseball player, and I think at the end of the day, they really just couldn't decide between the two of them. And I think they thought they were both worthy of sharing that title. And it's funny, we don't want to share, but at the same time, it's 2 young men, 2 high school student athletes that are both definitely deserving. And we're certainly proud that those guys thought enough of Jackson, and very well deserved, because the year he had. Finished the year batting, I think, over 500, and finished up 9-0 on the mound as a pitcher with like a .5 ERA or something crazy. Just an outstanding performance the entire year. And a lot of people don't know, one of our better players, a senior of ours, had surgery before the season, didn't get to play. So we were definitely scrambling a little bit at the first of the year, trying to figure out how we were going to fill that hole. And Jackson being able to come out and have the kind of year he had definitely helped a lot in helping with some of the production at the plate, and especially on the mound as well. So he had a great season for us, kind of a banner year, and I think at the end of the year he might have been, kind of the bell cow for us. But aside from that, man, it would really be hard to pick out a lot of people that, or just one or two people that were able to do some amazing things for us. But we had some other guys, some seniors, because we had a lot, 12 seniors, 7 of those starters every day, and guys like Hayden Donahue, who's fortunate enough, he and Jackson both are going to get opportunities to play at the next level. Had a really great year for us on the mound. Started down there in Game 1 of the championship series, and like I said, gave up a couple runs early, but after that settled in and struck out 11 and had a really good day on the mound, and did a great job for us at the plate this year. Some really awesome things that necessarily don't get recognized on the stat sheet. Kind of hitting the 9-hole for us, and that a lot of people don't really think about the 9-hole in the lineup as something that traditionally would be that important, but for him, had an on-base percentage close to 500, and he was able to get us back to the top and turn the lineup over a good bit. And what he was able to do offensively was invaluable as well. And a lot of good guys all over the field. Some of them, like I said, that may not get recognized for what they did on the stat sheet. We had a young man that made a transition from playing shortstop to playing third base because of injuries and shuffling around, and what he did for us defensively at third base, especially down the stretch, was unbelievable, and he did it all year long. Even going back to Hayden had a no-hitter going one night in a division game, and you're getting about the 5th inning and kind of wondering if he's going to be able to hold on to it, and next thing you know, he throws a pitch, and you hear that loud sound of the ball coming off the barrel, and you kind of go, oh no, there it is, and John Adam kind of dives towards the 6th hole and makes an unbelievable catch to preserve a no-hitter there. And so guys all over the field that did stuff like that. I talked earlier about John Daniel Deaton, who's a 4-sport athlete for us, a quarterback, basketball player, played golf all season during baseball season. Hadn't played baseball since he was in the 7th grade, and comes out here and ends up being an impact player for us. MVP of the championship series down there in Pearl, and guys like Carson Nash, who's another basketball player, hadn't played since junior high, and makes a diving play in left field in Game 2 of the series to get a big out there to rob a hit that could potentially have given up a couple runs. Man, I think the list would go on, and I'm going to leave people out and definitely don't want to do that. But there's guys all the way down to role players, people that don't start every day, but they'll get out there, and it could be guys that pinch run for us. But I could sit here and go through 35 games worth of moments where those guys were able to get out there and do things that a lot of people wouldn't recognize them for, and they probably wouldn't get in the newspaper for. But if they don't do that, we don't win a state championship for sure. I think our biggest rival is within our division that we play every year. Would probably be MaxxSouth High School. MaxxSouth fans and players, and our players and fans, really get excited to play each other. A lot of our kids know each other, and either from going to church together, playing summer ball together, or growing up playing on the same teams. Just a lot of connections, and I don't think it's a bad rivalry by any means. It's just a lot of excitement when we get to play each other, and of course we love beating them, and they love beating us. So, and I think it's probably only been amplified over the last 2 seasons because they're a division opponent. 2 years ago, we played them in the 3rd round to be able to advance to the North Half Series, and we beat them twice. And of course, this year, as it would perfectly play out, we had to play them again in the 3rd round this year twice, in very 2 tight, hotly contested games. A lot of excitement, big crowds, which is what you play for and what you coach for. So, just great games and great people to play against, to compete against, and obviously, like I said, we really enjoy beating them. That's always fun. And so we played them 4 times this year, and then we beat them all 4 times, so it was definitely a good year. I think every season is pretty much the same. You want to try to be in Pearl and at the end of May playing to win a state championship. That's always going to be the kids' goal, whether we talk about it or not. Those guys want to win a state championship. And that's something that we want to definitely do every year as coaches. We want to make sure we try to put our kids in situations where they have an opportunity to win a championship. And from there down, we would try to win the division every year. That's something that's important. The division games are what get you in the postseason, and we want to win the division. That's something we've never done. We've now won a state championship and still never won the division. So we play in a pretty tough division, and that obviously speaks for itself. But we've never been able to do it, and so that'll be something that going forward will definitely be a goal. But at the end of the year, as far as for coaches, you want to make sure that while any child is involved in your program for 4 years, you want to make sure they have a great experience. You want to make sure that high school sports is something they'll remember, and that hopefully something that they learn some things from. And obviously at the end of every year, your seniors that have been with you for so long, they're moving on, they're growing up, they're becoming men. They can go get a job and work forever, or they can go to college. There's lots of different routes they can take, and so you want to make sure that by the end of that, those guys, when you're saying goodbye and they're moving on, that they're going on to something productive, and that they can look back at their time with us as something that was time well spent, and time that they invested in something that was meaningful and gave back to them, and that that we have invested into them, and that we've ultimately hopefully had an impact, and the right kind of impact on those guys. And it's fun seeing them as tiny little freshmen coming in the program, but it's a sad but also a good day when you get to see them as young men when they're moving on from your program, and you kind of see the finished product, and it's almost like a proud parent moment when you get to kind of see them step out that gate and step out into the world and kind of make their own way. And you just hope that you've done a good job in those 4 years. But that's obviously a goal too, is watching those seniors as they leave, making sure that when they walk out of here, they look back at something, or at this, as something that they've can remember fondly for years to come, and hopefully brag a little bit about to their kids one day. So.